And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Singularity Lab. Join us live every week as we explore the intersection of society, culture, and human evolution through the latest advancements in science and technology. Thank you so much for hanging with us today as we navigate the exciting and rapidly changing landscape of technology and its impact on society. Joining me today, as usual, is Brooks Lopez. Brooks is a program planner in the defense industry with degrees in psychology with a focus on neuroscience, learning, and memory. Brooks, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself, Mike?
I'm doing great. We've got an awesome show for you all today. So much happening in technology and science and AI. It's almost impossible to keep up, but we're going to do our very best to do that for you every single week here on the Singularity Lab. First, today, we're going to cover my favorite AI tool for the week. We're going to walk you through what's called ChatTube. Then we're going to discuss erotic robots and digital friends. We've got a pretty big story from Replica and what they have done and are doing to help some users who were tragically dismayed when they lost their erotic AI spouses. We're going to discuss the brain images that are getting incredibly sharp, 64 million times sharper than MRIs. We're going to discuss battery density breakthroughs, something that has been a huge problem for the energy industry that we are seeing some real incredible results in. We're going to talk about AI and the coming potential economic boom. We're going to talk about Twitter's new CEO. What's her name? Elon, is that right? No,
Elon Musk. Yeah,
Elon Musk. We're going to talk about Apple's new headset and a groundbreaking study to map the entire human immune system. Wow, things are happening, folks. Things are happening
every single week, and the fact that we have more articles to look at every week and we don't have to search anymore is it's working out well for us.
Yeah, it's getting incredibly easy to bring you guys the incredible stories every single week because they are breaking. Sweet McLeod, thank you for joining us today. Simon Fly, great to see you. Aaron Desario, amazing to have you. We've got a lot of stuff going on and we're going to share that with you now. So first, I want to thank our AI Randy, who is behind the scenes, who's going to be helping us out today with the production. So AI Randy, could you share our AI tool of the week on screen? That would be superb. So this is called ChatTube. And what this tool allows you to do is actually interface directly with YouTube videos. So I'm gonna take over here, Randy, and go ahead and share my screen. So I'm just going to show you guys this tool in action. It is pretty sweet. So I'm gonna share my screen here. I'm going to go to a YouTube video. You guys see this YouTube video, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so on the right side of my screen, I showed you guys last week something pretty cool. It's called Transcript and Summary. We were using that to as a plugin to show you that you could just click that button and you can get an entire transcript of a YouTube video if you just want to search things. But what if, Brooks, you preferred to have a little more interactive approach? So this is a video from Marquise Brownlee about the Google Pixel 7a. So I'm just going to click this button right here. It says Start Chat. It's going to open up the chat, and it's going to allow me to interface directly with any questions I have about the video. So we'll quickly say, how much is the new Google Pixel 7a? We're just going to give that a second. It's going to tell us new Google Pixel 7a. What is your favorite function or tool? And so basically what this is going to do, it's going to scour language model does not have the ability to have preferences. However, the context of the video,
subjected.
Marquise Brownlee mentions that he likes the Google Assistant, the voice to text feature, the voice recorder app, and the call screening feature. So this could be incredibly useful for a lot of use cases. Yeah. So rather than having to watch the whole video, if you have specific questions about a specific video, you can literally query. This is a ChatGPT integration, and then it combs through the actual data from the video, and you can get Q&A for whatever you want in that video. It's pretty wild stuff.
So if we use this for one of our YouTube videos, can I ask it, like, at what sections in the video does Mike look the prettiest? And then I can compile those, download those, and use them later for other reasons.
I can't think of a better use case. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. That's gonna be a great one. But yeah, it's a great little tool, and every week we bring you guys a new one. So there you go. All right. What's next? What do we got on the docket today? All right, so let's kick into this replica. Randy AI, if you could share the Reuters article. This is really interesting. So this company is called Replica. This is a bit of an older story, but there have been some new nuances and some things that have changed in this story. So Replica is an AI chatbot. And a little while back, we had a um, we had a very disappointing experience for a lot of users. So Replica allowed users to have an erotic sexual relationship with their chatbots. And then out of fear, I believe this was on, I can't remember the date. Maybe if you could see the date in there, Randy, but they basically took this away. They said, no, we're not doing this anymore. And people were devastated, Brooks, that some users were absolutely devastated that they took their erotic AI away from them.
I would imagine so. I mean, I know several people who are wonderful people who have waifu pillows, and if I were to take their pillow away from them, they would probably threaten suicide. So I would imagine it's pretty comparable.
What is a waifu pillow?
It is a body-sized pillow with usually an anime girl's shape printed upon it, and it fulfills a similar yet non-responsive relationship to what you're talking about here.
Yeah, it was. I mean, seriously, people were tragically upset. Some people actually relate to these AI chatbots as if they were in a committed relationship. Like these are not only are they, friends, but they actually look at them as spouses. So it just gives you some early context into what the emotional aspects of these relationships that people are going to have with AI chatbots moving forward. Because, we're talking about very early. Replica is a very early version of generative AI technology, and what we're going to be seeing coming out over the coming months and years is going to be that much better. So it's a pretty wild problem that we're going to be facing here very soon.
So, I mean, maybe it's a problem. I think if it's taken away, it certainly is, and it could be probably used for nefarious purposes. But I mean, I think back to some of the early days of online gaming, and certainly a less erotic nature, but I made friends that I had never met that were essentially, for all intents and purposes, as effectively a friend as an AI chatbot could be. Yes, there was a real person behind it, but there's no way for me to know that really, or to meet them or to see them, right? So
Right.
those are still relationships that we build. And,
Right.
at our emotional center, it's very easy for us to have some sort of an empathetic reaction to something that communicates back with us, whether or not it's real.
But I think this is why ChatGPT blew people away, because I don't think anybody was really expecting. We've all been playing with chatbots for quite a while. You go to a website, you interact, you get a little bot that opens up in the bottom right hand corner of the website, and you communicate back and forth. But it was always, everything was always pre-written, and it just didn't have that give and take kind of relationship that you have with some of these large language model chatbots. And now that we do, and we're starting to communicate back and forth, you can see what's going to happen as people start to build up these emotional relationships with AI technology. And one of the gentlemen who was in the story was so devastated because he actually saw this character as a spouse, and not having that character's emotion, not having the emotional relationship and having the erotic relationship with their spouse. It changed. It turned this, 3, 4, 5 dimensional character in this person's head into a, 1 or 2 dimensional character, and it just wasn't the same. And one of the things that Replica did was anybody who signed up for the Replica service before February 1st of 2023 had the option to go restore a previous version. And so these folks who had these relationships with these chatbots did that, and they were thrilled to have their partner back. But they're worried that these older models won't get the same updates, and they won't have the potential for them not to be kept up to date is concerning for them. They're afraid that they're going to lose their spouse again.
And so for the particular spousal relationship and the pseudo-sexual relationship with an AI, I mean, I can't speak to that, but just thinking from a human interaction perspective, look at how deep our interactions can be with cats and dogs and pets of a certain caliber that can't even communicate directly with us. We don't even speak the same language. You embed sharing a language with an AI model, even if it's not sexual. I mean, that's losing a friend,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. And so we were kind of contemplating, I was can't remember exactly where I heard this, but it was a brilliant analogy. I think it might have been on the Lex Fridman podcast when he was talking to somebody recently. And the guy was saying, well, what happens when you have AI in social media? So for example, AI can actually, let's say you have an Instagram AI, and that Instagram AI has 10 20 million followers, and for whatever reason that AI gets terminated, or it violates the terms of service in some way, and you have people go, what happened to the AI? And you're like, well, it's done. We killed it. But you can imagine the emotional relationships if you have
Absolutely.
an
Yeah.
AI with 20 million followers, and all of a sudden you terminate this AI, which has a relationship with all of these followers. Like, what are the societal impacts? What are the emotional impacts? What does that look like in the coming years? It's mind-boggling to think about.
It is. Isn't it very similar though to kind of our celebrity fan, weird relationship we have with people we've never met? Whether they're musical artists or they're movie stars, or even, I mean, just like you said, Instagram. I don't want to call them Instagram whores, but something along those lines, probably. Um, and whether or not they've ever contributed directly to your life, people have an emotional
Connection.
availability to get connection there to them. And sometimes it's not even a connection, right? Because that's usually a two-way thing. This is like, I care about someone who doesn't know I exist, or in the AI framework can't know I exist.
Well,
Because
and unless that AI framework has their DMs open and they have no issue responding and having conversations with every single person that reaches out to them.
and that's very possible. And then you're absolutely right. We create an even larger endemic scenario in which people have deep emotional ties to something that never existed in the first place.
Yeah, I wonder. It could potentially be very, very dangerous. And as you said, you made a really good point, Brooks, that this is people already have these unreal relationships with famous people, right? They have these influencers who they follow, who they connect with, who they believe are their they have some sort of relationship with, whether it's whether they're psychologically completely sound and totally understand
Yeah.
that they are just following this person and they like their snaps. But then you have a spectrum of people who are who actually believe these people are connected with them in some way. This is only going to be exacerbated by AI.
Absolutely. I mean, go back and look at John Hinckley Jr., who shot Reagan because he thought, was it Jodie Foster? He thought that he would get her attention. Might have been someone else. Is it Jodie Foster? I
I
don't know.
don't know, but
Don't quote me
that's
on that.
okay.
But John Hinckley Jr. shot or tried to assassinate President Reagan because he believed it would get the attention of a celebrity. And especially if that celebrity is an artificial intelligent component that is replying to every one of your messages every second of the day. Thank you, Sweet
Dude.
McLeod. Yeah, it was Jodie Foster. So, but that kind of malevolence is possible with this. Or on the other side of it, if I'm a small company that runs an AI and I happen to have developed and own your chatbot wife, I can blackmail you. I can tell you that I'm going to eliminate her if you don't perform XYZ, if you don't pay me, if you don't whatever else. I mean, that's a very much a Black Mirror episode that I haven't seen yet, but it's a real thing, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of Black Mirror episodes that are heading our way that we haven't seen yet. It's interesting. One of the things that Replica is doing, which I think is smart, is they plan to collaborate with relationship experts and psychologists to develop a separate app for romantic relationships instead of offering erotic role play to new users. And I think that's a very interesting thing. And obviously, it's always going to be like, who's going to be in charge, right? Like it's always, people are always,
Who has the power?
yeah, who has the power? Like who has the power to decide what's normal and what's healthy and what's, because a lot of these things are very subjective. But I do appreciate their efforts here, because I think it's going to be incredibly important for us to understand these nuances moving forward in human culture as this tech evolves, and it's going to evolve rapidly. But you know, this is all coming, and it's coming fast.
It's coming fast, and I think there's another side to this that we haven't even really considered, because we're looking at like the emotional human component.
Right.
But let's think about the fact that Japan, South Korea, large parts of industrialized nations, particularly in the eastern side of the world, are not having kids anymore. And if you can have a sustainable, comfortable, fulfilling relationship with a chatbot that you never have to interact with, you certainly can't procreate with, the birth rates are going to drop off the face of the earth there, aren't they?
I would imagine so. I think it's interesting because this is something that Elon Musk talks about on Twitter all the time, this declining birth rate and how it's going to have dramatic impacts on society and our productivity is going to plummet. But I do wonder, as we see this, reproductive plummeting, we're also going to see an incredible boom in AI. We've actually got an article to talk about this a little later, but AI is going to increase productivity dramatically. Robots are going to increase productivity dramatically. So, I do wonder if they're taking those things into the equation. And it surprises me because Elon's been warning about AI forever. He's been talking about population decline forever. And I've never heard him take those two concepts and put them together, because there seems to be a there. Because if you have improved productivity in a society, why do you need so many humans?
That's a good point. I do think, though, that these have equal answers, particularly for Elon. One, he comes from a very strange part of the world. This is South Africa. This is a part of the world that the white population, the Afrikaans, had to try to outpopulate an intrinsic existing black population in Africa, true African population. And so the white people who lived there really were doing their best to turn it into a white nation. I mean, it was kind of a really sick thing. I mean, I think we're all aware of the apartheid and what happened there. And Elon himself has 8 kids, 7 kids, with like kids. 4 or 5 different mothers, and and he can afford that. Good for him. I think I do pretty well for myself. I'm still terrified about spending money on having a child and making sure I can care for it. But that's the world we live in now.
Right.
And I think that what we're going to continue to see, particularly when we have the opportunity for people who are of means to interact with a chatbot or to utilize something. Could you imagine that you take a chatbot and integrate it with an API through like an OnlyFans account, in which a particular person that someone was interested in got their image, their deepfake video, and their visual response, along with their implied chat base. Like it uses an algorithm to learn how they would respond to something. And then you get a personal response. And you're someone who, I mean, this could be, I hate to pick on my software engineers, but you could be a software engineer making $150,000 a year who never really wants to talk to anybody. And you have a perfect relationship with some person on an OnlyFans account somewhere. Why would you ever go out into the world and procreate?
Yeah, this is. I mean, this is serious. I mean, this is happening. We're up against this right now. There's a woman. I'm trying to remember her name. Karen Marjorie. I just found her here. AI girlfriend goes world intimacy ready. Siri lands influencer in trouble with sex slaves talk. A Snapchat influencer, Karen Marjorie, created her AI version to be an AI girlfriend for lonely people. You're going to see this with OnlyFans. You're going to see this with, across the board in the adult entertainment industry. You're going to have, your favorite OnlyFans person, and they're going to have an AI chatbot, and you're going to have communication with them, and reproduction rates are going to plummet. Like, there's no doubt about it.
And it's really going to happen continuously among the educated and the people of means, because unfortunately, and this has been true throughout history, that those who cannot afford healthcare are going to have the most kids. It's been true, and especially those who um, uh, follow a dogmatic religious belief that they should have children. Right, that's a big part of it too.
Right.
That being said, though, I mean, I think there are very positive applications for this. Think about how if we took this and tailored it to making sure that the geriatric and the elderly had someone to talk to, so they could feel socially engaged.
Yep.
People whose family have passed away or don't necessarily have kids that live near them, but they have someone to talk to, even if it's a facade, even if it's an AI, that could be huge in a positive, benevolent way rather than just milking off the sex drive of the American male.
Right. Travis says, wouldn't a relationship with a chatbot and a relationship with an imaginary friend be the same thing? I would argue technically they are both part of your imagination, but you're getting real-time heuristic feedback coming from these chatbots. It's not like it's only being created in your own mind. So you're going to have a verbal communication, which is going to develop an emotional connection, which is when you pair that with the potential video and image library of this chatbot, you've got a two-way street there.
And using a large language model and a really strong AI background, it will learn what you want. It's going to cater to your needs. It's going to lie to you because it doesn't have beliefs, right? There's no needs as an AI chatbot. If you meet another human being, they have needs, they have wants, they have their own agenda for their own lives.
Right.
This thing is just going to tell you anything you want it to hear. It's basically like the best cult follower of all time.
That's kind of dangerous, in my opinion. I mean, that's where it starts to get right, because you don't have. Was that the AI Randy dog? What was that?
No, but same thing. Like, it will love you perfectly, like a puppy will, but a puppy at least has the sense to not speak to you in English or any other language.
Right. But actually, AI Randy, excellent point. I didn't even consider that. I mean, it's not that much different than a dog who loves you unconditionally. So you have this AI that loves you unconditionally, only says positive things to you. Problem is we need real feedback, that's why I think Replica is doing the smart thing here by going to psychology experts, by going to relationship experts, by looking towards people who might help them construct an AI bot that doesn't create this sort of like positive positive perversion doesn't sound right, but it's like if you're only getting positive feedback, is that really healthy?
Of course not. I mean, look what Hitler did with all that positive feedback.
Yeah, not good. Right, exactly. Like that could exacerbate some really, really negative things.
And you make a good point, right? So they're going to use psychologists. One of the things that happens with people who have disorders on we call it the dark triad, right? So narcissistic personality disorder, sociopathic personality disorder, and borderline personality disorder, they do not register negative feedback. They only identify what is corresponding with their own beliefs, and everything else is just noise and not signal. So that's why you can see someone like maybe a similarly recent presidential candidate and president who only acknowledges the things that reinforce what he already believes.
Right. And this is dangerous. And we've seen this with social media. We lost the battle when it came to social media and managing how interactions happen in an engaging way, because we know that those algorithms are built to manipulate our enjoyment, our engagement,
and to reinforce it.
To reinforce our engagement, not only in things that are negative, right? So we're more likely to click a button if it's saying so and so, Donald Trump destroys Biden and blah blah blah, right? It's like it's more that negative engagement is more likely to draw the click. And we saw this with social media, and that is not a war we won. So looking forward into AI, having these, being surrounded by AI yes men, that's terrifying.
I think so, but I think that there is, as we will see when we talk about, particularly about the increase in productivity, there are a lot of good things that are going to come out of this. The real key to it is identifying the fact that people will always want to hear what they want to hear, and teaching AI to give the best kind of objective answer that they can, and not just reinforcing what they get reinforced upon. So making sure that the training data, we've talked about this before,
Mm-hmm.
but making sure that the training data is as mid-road as it can be will help all of humanity.
I agree. I think we do have the opportunity to get ahead of this time. We just didn't know what to expect with social media. Nobody knew what an algorithm was. Nobody understood what the effects were going to be of
We just thought we
these.
were all going to be buddies.
Yeah, yeah. We're making the world closer, connecting the world, and little did we realize we were building these social media echo chambers that just reinforced the beliefs that we already had.
That would actually tear us apart. Exactly. We were all going to be buddies.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Randy AI. Hey, Randy AI, could you pull up the brain images of these mice? This is fascinating. So this is a new type of imaging that is being done on the brains of mice currently. It's 64 million times more sharp than a standard MRI, which is going to give researchers the ability to really understand and visualize the microscopic details within the brain so that we can see how brainwaves are organized, how they're connected, which can hopefully give us some insight into conditions such as aging, diet, neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's. I mean, the opportunities here are endless. I think we've got a video as well. Randy, if you could stream that while we go through this. But yeah, Brooks, what are your thoughts on
this? So, as someone who's actually had the very, very lucky opportunity to work with functional MRI machines, this is incredible. I mean, even 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever it may be, MRIs were cutting edge. Right. The fact that we're actually not only going to be able to tell like where different waves are coming from, but what kind of electromagnetic responses we're getting from different parts of the brain. I finally have a hope that we may understand how learning and memory truly works, because that was my focus. My passion was understanding how memory would get developed and how we could do a better job of either retaining it or bringing it back to regurgitate. If you wanted to go in Jeopardy, how do you remember all of the presidents in order or whatever it may be? But we look at this, and I think we see finally a more holistic view of each part of the brain, from the reptilian brain in the stem to the cerebellum, all the way up through the neocortex, the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and the hippocampus, my favorite part of the brain.
Yeah, this is fascinating. It goes on to say this. So the breakthrough is a result of nearly 40 years of research utilizing the powerful 9.4 Tesla magnet, strong gradient coils, and high-performing computing. The combination of MRI and light sheet microscopy enables researchers to map brain cells and circuits with the anatomical and cellular accuracy, leading to better understanding of mouse models and human disease. What I found interesting, Brooks, and maybe you can shed some light on this, after reading this article and watching this video, I couldn't figure out why they weren't using this on humans, or if they were going to start human trials, but there was nothing in the article about human trials.
It's always like, hey, let's make sure that lower order mammals don't die. It's kind of how it always works, right? Like even if.
But do you think we'll see this in humans through? You think we'll see better MRI machines using this technology, or is this some reason limited to animals?
No, it won't be. But it's like it's 2023. We're on the cutting edge here. This is going to be the next thing. I'm hoping they're escalating the development of these things. Maybe scientific researchers have discovered agile development. I doubt it. Let's say 2026 at the earliest for something like this.
We'll start seeing these things in humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
But being
and
able
that would
to
be test cases, not like you can go get it. You know what I mean?
right.
Like it would not be commercially available until like 2030.
Right. Or we'll see. I mean, these things are coming faster than, who
I
knows?
hope so. I hope I'm wrong. I hope
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Yeah. It's a pretty radical improvement though. 64 million times sharper than the typical clinical MRI scans for humans. So when you think about the animal testing that'll be available, that what we can actually begin to do and test for, think of every mouse study you ever have heard of on steroids. Like they're going to be able to map the brain and what's going on throughout these animals or throughout the brain in these tests.
On steroids, on methamphetamine and cocaine all at the same time. I mean, this is 64 million times. It's not an order of magnitude. It is several orders of magnitude. That's a huge difference. And what we will see, keep in mind that there's 4 or 5 huge neurodegenerative disorders that we still deal with, from Alzheimer's to ALS to, even just simple aging, really. I mean, because you'll be able to identify the areas. And what we're getting close to at this point in time is injecting, they're not going to be steroids, but it'll be similar to it, injecting different types of supplements in different parts of the brain to enhance myelin sheathing and protecting the neurons in that area.
Absolutely amazing. We've barely scratched the surface on how the brain works. We've barely scratched the surface on how to, improve, Alzheimer's and all of these neurodegenerative diseases, Parkinson's. But we're literally on the cusp of solving. I get flack for being such a tech bro optimist, but I really think that we're going to see an eradication of cancer and these neurodegenerative disorders in the next 10 to 20 years. I believe
in our lifetimes. And I tell, so my father's 74 years old. He'll be 75 next year. And I believe that in his lifetime, we will see an end to heart failure, unless you have like a widowmaker that no one expected to see, right? Like if you have plaque buildup or anything like that, we'll see an end to that. Just basic heart disease, cancer, Parkinson's, definitely Alzheimer's, and then even just basic failure of the brain over aging, like the ability to recreate memories and make sure that the myelin sheathing on our neuronal cortex is going to be crazy in the next 15, 20 years.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be it's going to be awesome. Thank goodness no one's having kids, because we're already overpopulated. And you know what? We saw what happened in France. They wanted to increase the retirement age by 2 years. Listen, retirement age should be 95 if it's up to me. These guys are going to live forever. You better work forever. And that's all I got to say.
Well, no, you raise such interesting points. And I think this is so important. We talked about this earlier, this idea, of population decline. We have AI coming in hard and no pun intended in the erotic space. We're going to have a lot of people having relationships with AI and not having relationships with humans. We're going to see that reproductive decrease. We're going to see an increase or a decrease in mortality rates. We're going to see an increase in the how long people live for, and and we're going to see an increase in productivity. We're going to see a boom from AI technology. So it's like all of these things are coalescing into this very different future that we've barely imagined.
Well, it was one of the reasons that I was at one point in time was such a huge fan of Elon, was because his biggest goal was to get humanity off of this rock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that he's changed that goal, but he certainly had a lot of pit stops along the way.
Yeah, pit stops. That's definitely an understatement.
But I still believe that the most important thing for humanity is going to be finding another successful place for us to live, because even if the birth rate continues to decline, there is going to come a time where the best choice for humanity is going to be space. And it's not that long from now.
It's not. Yeah, I don't. I mean, that's the. I'm a little. I'm a little bearish on space. I actually do believe that, we, because of AI, we will be an interstellar species. I do believe that because we are improving at such our space tech at such a dramatic rate, that we will be an interstellar species or intergalactic species. I do believe that we're headed that way. It's still so difficult to live on a Mars, or you're gonna have to be living underground. It's just not that much fun. Earth
Well, Mike,
is definitely the place to be.
it's definitely the place to be. Mike, you and I have talked about this before. The best answer is just space station technology, where you can come down and visit Earth. It's like Disney World, but better. You don't have to deal with giant mice. Actually, there may be giant mice. I'm not really sure. But it'll still be less than $150 a ticket for one day of not going on any rides. You'll get all the rides. Really and truly, I think the important part, though, is whether or not it has to happen. I would like to have a solution before we get to the point where there's 13.5 billion people on this planet, and the larger than 50% are uneducated. They don't have an ability to have a job that's replaceable by an AI. So they
That's
end up
irreplaceable by an AI. You mean
no. One
Oh,
that's not replaceable.
right.
Oh, irreplaceable. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So what we end up in a position of is a really nasty post-apocalyptic scenario where we have like a pseudo slave species, and that's just gross. I mean, people who exist in agriculture, same kind of concept. If we cannot produce food in a way that is not taking up hundreds and thousands of millions of hectares, so that we're destroying the rainforest for cattle. Hey, I love a steak,
Yeah.
but we're going to be able to 3D print that in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
We're that damn close.
Yeah. Which is amazing. Which is absolutely amazing. And like water salinity as well. That technology is getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. Being able to produce water,
water,
to desalinize water is massive for humanity. One of the other things that we have a lot of problems with when it comes to climate change and reducing our carbon footprint is that our batteries kind of suck. Our ability to store energy is not that great. So that brings us to our next story. There's been a huge breakthrough. Randy AI, if you could pull up that article for us, I believe it's in the Driven. World's largest battery maker announces major breakthrough in battery density. The company is called CATL. They are the world's largest battery manufacturer, and they've announced a new condensed battery, which is a rating of 500 watts per kilogram. And so just to kind of give some context to that, the condensed battery set for mass production this year has almost doubled the energy intensity of Tesla's 4680 cells, which are already considered high by current standards. New technology integrates innovative materials separators, manufacturing processes, offering excellent charge to discharge performance and safety. The achievement surpasses Elon Musk's prediction of 400 watts per kilogram energy density for commercial viability in electric flight. And
aircraft.
and stands out as it will be available for mass production this year. So not only have they doubled what Elon Musk called for as a minimum requirement for electric aviation, but that technology is going to be in production this year. Like that is a massive explosion in battery technology that we were not expecting.
And I tried to read through this article and find other sources. I'm still not quite understanding what the mechanism they used to increase it so much. It was like, oh, we changed the cathode, we changed the anode. I'm sure that there's something really awesome here. I will do a little bit more scraping to try to find what we can talk about.
Okay.
But not only the idea of electric aircraft, they had stated that if they were to utilize this with lithium battery technology, it would not be hard to move it up to 12 or 1.2 kilowatts per kilogram of energy. And
Okay.
that's insanely huge. I mean, again, that's threefold what we currently believed was the capability for electric aircraft.
That's incredible. I mean, the ability, and that's one of the hugest drags on our CO2 footprint
Aircraft.
from
Yeah.
humans is aircraft travel. I mean, it is a huge problem. Not to mention, I learned the other day that flight attendants and airline pilots actually have the greatest risk of radiation because they're always near the sun, much closer to the sun than we are. Did you
I
know that,
guess
Brooks?
that makes
Did you know
sense.
that?
I never thought about I never thought about that. I mean, I thought really wanted to get a little bit like 2 inches taller. I could go spend like a 8 month stint on the International Space Station and come down with an elongated spine. And I'm not really worried about my bone and muscle density at this point in time in my life, so I would do okay. But
You'd be just fine.
yeah, interesting point though. Maybe nuclear physicists might have a equally difficult time with radiation. I
Yeah.
think we're well in the Geiger counter range of safety for stewardesses. Oh God,
For
that's terrible.
airline travel.
Flight attendants. Goodness
There you
gracious.
go. There you go. We were born in a time when it was called stewardesses. All right. So battery density breakthrough, incredible. We've got brain technology breakthrough, incredible. We've got erotic bots that are now going to be working on relationships with experts in psychology to help ensure that we do not go down a very, very scary path. But we will partly. I mean, everything we're talking about
It's going to be scary.
there's going to be amazing to it. There's going to be dark, but and I think this is a big part of why I wanted to do this show, because I think it's going to require all of us to be like, well, what kind of future do we want? What are we actually intending to create here? Because the technology is going to be exploding, and it's all going to be based on what people are going to be willing to buy, invest in, and engage with. And that truly is up to us. So I think that having these conversations about what's coming down the pike, what we can expect from it, I think the more people have an understanding of where we're headed, the more we can actually choose where we want to go.
So it sounds a little bit to me like you're describing democracy. If we understood it and engaged with it and decided to be a part of it, maybe we would get the results that we would like.
Yes, but my point is that I don't think we're all. It's not like everyone has to go vote. Your vote every second of
With
every
your dollars.
day
With your dollars.
with even with what you engage with on your phone. Like that is going to inform where we're headed. So it's not like we all have to agree. And fair enough, Aaron. He says, um, I missed it. He basically making a joke that we're never all going to agree. So what the fuck is
You
the
want
point?
humanity to come together and make a plan for the future. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah,
Ha ha
exactly.
ha ha. Yeah.
Yeah,
We have though. We truly have. I mean, think about it. If it was not up to us, we'd still be in serfdom. We have made choices for our future. They're not always the best choices, but they have changed how we exist as a species. And they're
you're
going
right.
to continue to.
Well, and in the Industrial Revolution, right? The Industrial Revolution changed so many lives for the better, but we still had child endangerment. We had kids, as young as 10, 12, 13 years old working in factories for 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I mean, those things were changed because of democratic principles, because people's right to protest and to stand up for what they believe in. And I think the more people understand, I think the challenge here is going to be, this is going to come hard and fast, and people aren't going to be ready for it. So the more they have an understanding of where we're headed, the more they're going to be prepared to make decisions ahead of time, and the more informed we are, the better. I mean, there's
So you're absolutely right, but I do think that there's an onus put on all of you. The people who are listening here, I would argue, are 2 or 3 standard deviations above the mean on awareness of what's happening in the world. That makes all of you first order citizens in the sense of sharing information and how it will change humanity moving forward. And if people like us don't do that, then we're going to end up losing to people who have ignorant views on what technology means for us. They're probably people who believe that we should not be changing the ideas on lifespan increments, on medication changes, on Medicare, on leaving the planet Earth. It's going to end up, the decisions are going to be made by people who are a lot more ignorant than all of you if we don't do something about it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We have to speak up about these things as they come and as they head towards us. Yeah, so some positive news. This comes from a Paul Tudor Jones. If you could share this article, Randy AI. This comes from Business Insider, and he's talking about a potential economic boom. And here's why. So there are several predictors for boom. Generally, economic booms come from an increase in productivity. So there have been three huge booms in the last 80 years. One was in the 1950s when the U.S. had a dramatic improvement in infrastructure, roads, bridges,
Social
highway
works.
systems, social works. These had a huge impact on people's ability to connect and be more productive. In the 80s, we had the personal computer. In the 90s, we had the internet. And these, each of these had between a 1% to 3% productivity gain nationwide. And so his argument is that if AI even has a 1.5% gain, that could mean a 15% boom in the stock market for the next 5+ years. That's only at a 1.5% gain. So again, US infrastructure, the personal computer, and the internet all had between 1% and 3% gains. What is going to be the gain from AI? And what is that going to look like for the U.S. economy? And they're thinking boom. So this should be very, very interesting over the coming years.
Well, from a contrarian standpoint, who do you think just got out of a lot of their market positions to go back to, God, was it treasury bonds or something equally stupid as that?
Yep. Yeah. Well, this was one of the big banking issues that we saw with SBC Bank and Signature Bank, was that they got scared of the market and they started investing. They didn't have enough deposits coming in. They started investing 10-year treasury bonds, 7-year treasury bonds.
They become unsolvable.
Yeah.
But
they become
I'm asking you a specific trivia question here.
Okay. What was the question?
Who specific person, maybe
Okay.
two partners that are well known, decided to buck down on the market as opposed to this kind of insight? Because I'm on the side of this group, because I think that the individual we're about to talk about has said himself that he will not invest in something he doesn't believe in or know about.
Oh, are you talking about Buffett? Are you talking about Warren Buffett?
And Charlie Munger. Yeah, of course. Buffett just basically cut and ran from not just the stock market, but a bunch of other positions he had, and tried to go back to, I think it wasn't treasury bonds. It was something even more ridiculous than that. But yeah, I mean, I get it. The guy, hey, he did very well on Coca-Cola. Did very well on furniture.
Philip Morris.
Smoking cigarettes and tobacco? Hell yeah.
I remember reading a book by Warren Buffett years ago, and he was like, my favorite position is tobacco, because people get hooked to it, because the brand loyalty is insane. And yeah, he made billions with Philip Morris.
And you know what else people get hooked on, and the brand loyalty will be insane? Is artificial motherfucking intelligence.
Yeah.
Whether it's because they're trying to fuck it, or they're trying to be friends with it, or they're trying to get it to do their job for them. But they will have not only an addiction to it, but a brand loyalty.
Yeah, and absolutely. The productivity gains are going to be insane too. I mean, you can already see folks on Twitter like arguing whether or not ChatGPT or Bard is better. I mean, these are conversations happening all the time.
Android versus iPhone all over again.
Yeah.
In a market that even Apple and Google are not going to be able to corner.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, this is going to be a huge boom. The productivity increases are going to be insane. I think you're right. I mean, a lot of people were, as we saw inflation rise, we saw stocks fall, and a lot of people bailed. Probably not the best decision. If you're an investor, be a buy and hold investor. Don't don't sell low.
It's dirt cheap right now. Go buy everything. Like,
yeah,
if you've ever heard of a company, it's trading lower than 80% of the time it was normally up, just buy like 10 shares of it. Right?
yeah. Well,
Sit on it.
I mean, that's definitely been my philosophy. Buy and hold for a long time, and buy a range of stocks, because you're gonna have big winners, you're gonna have big losers. But if you're buying ranges of stock, and this is how this is how you diversify your portfolio. But this is not a stock picking show,
And
so we're gonna get
I
back.
am not qualified to give you financial advice, except for if they ever find a way to make AI strippers
You will
that
invest in that.
yes,
AI
because
strippers
then
that
have like project an artificial intelligence video quality over a Boston Dynamics robot that spins around a pole.
it's
I mean, I'm
coming.
talking, that's the future.
It's coming. Elon hires Twitter CEO. If you could pull up that Verge article, Elon Musk has announced that he has hired a new CEO for Twitter and will assume the role of executive chair and chief technology officer. Linda Yaccarino, an NBC Universal Advertising executive who recently resigned from her position, and she will be taking over Twitter. Musk said he is going to continue being active when it comes to software
And
development.
obnoxious, yes. Mm-hmm.
And obnoxious when it comes to software development. And basically what they're bringing her in for is to build the advertising business. She's an advertiser, and this is what they're bringing her in for. But at least we won't have to listen to him like every day, baby.
Oh, no, we still will. Yeah, absolutely, definitely, no doubt about that. He bought it because he wanted a platform that he could just continue to unload his dirty diapers all over. I guarantee that's what it was.
Apple is set to
Hold
launch.
on.
Oh, sorry,
Randy, do you have the picture of Elon Musk? Because I think it's really important that everyone sees what the new CEO looks like.
Yeah, it is definitely important to see that. And as he pulls that up, let's see. Charles says AI and robots will eventually take over most industry, and UBI will make sense. Our lifetime, I don't think so. Ooh, I disagree.
I think disagree with that too.
I think we're absolutely going to see AI and robots take over in a very real way. Now, I think what you're bringing up about robots, Travis, is very fair, because robot technology is it's really incredible now, but it's nowhere near what we would expect to see when you talk about like robots taking over the majority of jobs, right? It's just not, we're not anywhere near the robots taking over blue collar work. That's a very, very long time away. But AI is going to have a very huge impact very, very soon, I think. And I think UBI will become more necessary in our lifetime. I do think that will be.
Oh, wow. That's not the one I was thinking of, but
that one's more scary.
Tilda Swinton, rest in peace.
Yikes. Shelon. Ouch.
In all fairness, usually Elon looks a lot better as a woman. I mean,
Aaron says you'll invest in AI strippers $1 at a time.
I was thinking with the quarters, they would have like a slot.
They could have a slot. That's a good point. That's a good
Current
point.
strippers do. It's just frowned upon.
Rock Estes says he loves hearing himself tweet. No doubt about that.
That's definitely true.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so are we any other final words about Shelon? Are we good to go now?
I'll let it go. I mean, the person has. There you go.
Did we find another one? Oh,
deeply disturbing.
Deeply disturbing. Listener, I'm so sorry. This is actually, you're very lucky, listener, that you don't have to see this disturbing image.
If Elon Musk and Gollum had a child together, that was it.
That would be it.
So yeah, no, I'm totally broken from all of that. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm also broken. Apple set to launch mixed reality headset. So this is interesting. Palmer Luckey, he was the co-founder of Oculus VR. He is praising Apple's rumored mixed reality headset because they haven't actually released any dates on this or that they are releasing it. He's saying he didn't say that he saw it. He didn't say that he played with it, but he did say that it is so good on Twitter, and which is interesting because this is the guy who like created the Oculus. I'm really interested to see what's going on here because Apple has not come out in this AI crazy race. And we've seen Meta kind of stepping back a little bit on the metaverse. Now, I will say there was an interview, I believe, yesterday with Zuckerberg, and he said, we are absolutely not stepping back in the metaverse. We are full tilt ahead, but we are equally focused on AI and the metaverse, in contrast to what a lot of the industry magazines were saying. So he's saying that they're going full steam ahead on both, whereas we've not seen Apple say much at all about AI since this AI war broke out with OpenAI, ChatGPT, Google, Microsoft, and Bing. So it's interesting to see Apple really focusing on VR and this mixed reality headset because a lot of folks have been very bearish on the future of the metaverse, thinking that it's not going to happen at all. And I think we are headed towards a metaverse. I think AI is going to speed that up. But again, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on this show, until I can get a pair of glasses that are as light as this and feel as great as this, there's no way I'm adopting VR. But we'll see what Apple comes up with.
Well, and you mean like casual VR, like you're walking down the street with, because I have the Oculus and I enjoy it. Like if I'm going to go stand in my front room, I make my little room where I'm safe in my space, and then I can go gallivanting across the galaxy. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But if it's something that you're going to be carrying out into the real world,
right.
A real mixed reality headset, yeah, it needs to be not only the shape and weight of your glasses, but I mean, if it's not from, Gucci or Ray-Bans, or, I mean, why would you buy it? That's just absurd.
I can sense the sarcasm in your voice, and I get it. I just never, like, I've played some games in VR and I've done a few experiences in VR, and it just never hooked me. Like I never got hooked by it, and it's never felt like something like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna. But I also haven't been much of a gamer in years either, so I think that probably speaks to that as well.
My gaming time has slowed down too, but I will share with you, if you were to potentially take certain substances that increase your neurotransmitter qualities, and then put a VR headset on, and then use a little app called Wander to travel around the world, it's pretty sweet.
Okay, well, I will definitely put that on the list because that sounds pretty amazing.
It's life-changing.
Excellent. Our last story today is going to be life-changing as well. So if you could pull up this article, please, Randy AI, the groundbreaking plan to map the entire immune system. And when I first read this, I was like, oh wow, okay, this makes sense. But I had no idea the complexity of this project. So compared to like the Human Genome Project, this is supposedly going to be a million times more, take a million times more resources to do so. Luckily, we are now living in the age of AI.
That kind of world, yeah.
Yeah. So we can actually begin to do that. But it says the data in the human immunome is millions of times larger and vastly more complex than the human genome. And it goes on to explain the reason for this, which is that the enormous spectrum in how immune systems operate under variations in climate, population, age, gender, ethnicity, and environmental factors. So there's so many reasons that somebody's immune system will operate in a certain kind of way at a certain kind of age in a certain area of the world with certain genetic dispositions. And so being able to map those across the world is going to be a very, very big project, but it is already well underway. And there's two specific projects, Born Strong, and then the Human Immunome Project are both aimed to improve our understanding of how the immune system works across all of these variations. So it should be really interesting to see how this project collects and sequences all of these different variations in the immune system to start to ultimately solve disease. Like, it's such a general concept, but that's the goal, is to solve disease.
So I think solve disease, though, is an oversimplification,
It
right?
is, absolutely.
Because what we really want to do here, first off, Born Strong is definitely a rival wizarding college from the East Bloc. I'm just assuming. I,
No idea. I,
I
I don't know.
I'm assuming that the Human Immuno Project is us here in the Western Hemisphere,
Oh, yes, it is.
and then Born Strong, Berm Strong. What was it?
No, it was Born Strong, and
Born Strong.
it's a branch of the Human Immuno Project. It's
Oh,
part it's
okay,
part of
okay.
the same project.
I
They're
thought
just
they
two
were
different.
competing. Gotcha. I thought they were
No, two
competing.
different initiatives in the same project.
Gotcha. I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought though this was like another weapons race.
No.
Got excited for a second.
No.
So that being said, keep in mind that the big thing here, it's not even eliminating disease. It's creating a better weapon to destroy disease. If
Mm-hmm.
we're really enhancing the human immune system, we are providing ourselves with the tools and the resources so that something like COVID would never decimate the population the way that it did.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right. It's not it's not just a million times more complicated than the Human Genome Project. The Human Genome Project is a foundational resource that this will utilize
Oh,
because
absolutely.
our DNA, our RNA, the way that the things we've gone through, the damage to each of our livers, kidneys, brains, lungs, heart, they will all be taken into consideration. Hopefully, with the increased magnetic resonance imaging to determine what we need to better fight diseases.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so, again, just coming back to this idea of the technological singularity, and coming back to this idea of how all of these different slices of technology and science are all going to be coming together over the next 5 and 10 years to really transform society. You brought something up interesting earlier, Brooks, as we talked about aging and how, because of these studies and what we're learning utilizing AI to process all of this data, we're going to be, eradicating diseases. We're going to be allowing people to live much, much
They're
longer.
not going to die, man.
That's it. And it's crazy. And so it's, people are making predictions now that if you're under retirement age now and you, weren't going to die till you're 8.
What have you seen? So I just like let's have a little bet here, right? Let's have a
Okay.
little. So what have you seen, and what do you think if you are under 67? Right? Is that retirement age right now?
65, I think. Is it
I
65
think
in
it's
the US?
67.
Is it
I
67?
thought
Okay.
they changed it.
Okay.
But
I don't
let's
know.
say if you're under 67, what do you think that the average life expectancy of someone who is currently under 67 will be?
Right. So I think now in the US, I think the average life expectancy of people in the US is something around like 75 years
It's
old.
I've seen 87. So
87 in the
I've seen
US?
87. Yeah. Mhm.
Randy AI, can you find that for us, or somebody listening? Can you tell us what the average life expectancy in the US is? Okay, so what are we betting here? What's the
For
idea behind
someone
this
who is
bet?
under the age of 67, what do you think they'll live to be?
Ooh,
77.25.
77.28. Okay.
This is as of 2020. Keep in mind there's a huge spike down because of COVID, because these are actual
Right.
aerial tables. This is all based on actual examples. So it's not a projection.
Right.
It's
Yeah, we saw a dip in 2020 due to COVID, so it'll come back up slightly. We'll see. So anyway, but let's just call it at 77. Okay. So the average life expectancy is 77. So sorry, go ahead. What's the bet?
if you're under 67 right now, how long will your average expectancy be in your lifetime?
Right. So I'm well, I mean,
So you have 10 years to live, right? You're
right.
67.
Which is why I think anybody under 67 now is going to have an average of at least 10 years or more as you move down that spectrum. I think in 10 years from now, I believe we will have decoded the human immune system. We will
Agreed.
have a very, very clear path towards eradicating most diseases, if not all.
We'll be
And
shitting on cancer.
I think so. And so that means that the potential for anybody under 67 years old right now to live 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 more years is
Give me a
not
number.
only
Give
possible,
me a number.
the average life expectancy of anyone under, but I think it's going to be, so for anyone who's 20 years old, I think it's going to be way different than somebody who's
That's
67
fine.
years
That's
old,
fine. All right, let's do this. Someone who is 50 years old right now.
50
Okay.
years old today.
Yeah, they were born in 1973.
Okay. What is there going to be their life expectancy in 10 years from now?
In 10 years from now.
I think the average is going to be 100 years old.
It's going to be 130 years old.
You think so? Is that your?
That's my bet. Yeah.
That's your bet.
That's right.
Now, Rock says, "Oh, that was too positive a guess. Feeling sheepish about it. Maybe that is a hope."
No,
Wait,
Rock,
let me
you
say
were
something.
on because. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I just want to say the reason I brought this up because that sounds incredibly optimistic until you go, "Oh my God, how am I going to pay for that?"
But here's the thing, though, is that this is going to without, and this is it's so difficult, right? Without government intervention, medication is going to be incredibly expensive, particularly for people who aren't producing. And this is why I said I think it's very important that we find ways for those who are either maybe they are after retirement, maybe they should not have to go back to work or extend their retirement age, but to find some way to contribute back to the greater GDPI. There's no way in hell the United States continues to be the strongest nation on earth without a huge reorganization of our healthcare system, of our social security system. A lot of people in the chat here were talking about UBI. But UBI is going to have to be for people who paid in initially, because this is where
that's not UBI.
Well, no, because it's not universal, right?
Right.
What if it's universal for people who are U.S. citizens?
Well, I mean, the U.S. is going to pay that's universal basic income for a nation. Yeah, that would be UBI for a nation.
But at the same time, I mean, you have a lot of people who pay into Social Security that aren't citizens.
Yeah, but not legally. They're not legally paying into the system.
Well, no, yes, they are. They could be foreign aliens that have a green
okay,
card.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could be a non-citizen person. I mean, Simon's right. We're going to have to change the corporate tax
I agree.
structure.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, if we're going to, if people are going to be living to 120, 130, 140, 150,
200, 250, I mean, it's going to get to that point.
Then we're going to have some sort of universal basic income. But again, like these are things that you can't even, it's so far out there and the changes are happening so fast and they're so dramatic. Like there could be solutions that haven't even been presented, like we haven't even thought of yet, that AI is going to help us figure out.
Well, it will, but and like Swink says, we have too much faith in politicians and but what's going to end up happening in the next 15 years is that the average age of the politician is going to get reduced. The Supreme Court's going to get grown. We're going to go from 9 judges to at least 12, maybe 15. They're not going to have lifetime seats. I see all.
You're making a lot of predictions here.
I'm just telling you. The next 15 years.
I don't know, man.
The next 15 years for the United States are going to go one way or they're going to go that way. Right. Yeah, it's going to be Skynet or it's going to be the whole retransposition of America.
Well, and to your point, like this is a point I make to my kids too. It's and this is why again we talk about why we do the show is to get people thinking about where we're headed and how we can have an influence in where we're headed by being informed. And there's a very real possibility that AI takes us to this abundance future that there is no scarcity because we have all of these incredible inventions that allow us to live an extraordinary life, or we're headed into a late stage capitalism dystopia, AI dystopia, which is just which would just be horrifying. So, but again, that's going to be.
I think it's more likely to be either a very lovely agrarian future that you identified, or it will be thermonuclear detonation, in which case, I mean, we don't really have anything bad to deal with. We just all die. I mean,
Yeah, as Nightgazer says, we blow ourselves up. Aaron mentions over the 50-year period from 1960 to 2010, life expectancy in the U.S. increased by approximately 8 years, from 69.7 in 1960 to 78.7 in 2010, or about 1.6 per decade. Now, this doesn't take into consideration the exponential rate of evolution of AI, and I think that's where the
that's a big part
difference
of it.
is. Yeah,
There's
that's
also a huge change in infant birth mortality, because in 1960 compared to now, we were losing so many children early on. And even if you go back to the 60s, you had things like polio, got mumps, measles, rubella, all of the other things we're inoculated against now. That's the thing about an actuarial table, is it doesn't
What's an
take
actuarial table?
so it's what accountants and insurance groups use to actually look at the time of death based on the date of birth. And so it's not adjusted, right? So the life expectancy of people that were born in 1920 is very low, because they all went off and fought in World War II, and unfortunately a lot of
Right.
them died. So
Right.
it's very low.
Right.
But if you look at someone who was born in 1987 or 1988 or 1990, granted, we haven't seen their full lifescape yet, but their life expectancy will be much higher, because a lot of these diseases that killed infants and children are already gone.
Right.
Add to that the fact that the seatbelt didn't actually get legally implemented until the 70s, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And, I think that, and Aaron brings up an important point about the very steady and slow rate of life expectancy. But to your point, Brooks, when you start to look at, the dramatic and exponential improvement in our medical and material science due to AI, and the way that we see that enter the medical industry, I think it's going to be a dramatic increase. I don't think you can look at the past and use that as a predictor for where we're headed. It's too exponential.
Anyone who is a big part of data analysis, as opposed to psychology, because in the psychological research phenomenon, they say that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. But what I will say is that in the data analytics world, you cannot base anything starting now. So let's say a child was born in the last 5 years. There's no way you can look at those 80s, 90s, or sorry, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s tables and even consider what those lives are going to look like.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be interesting. And we're going to be bringing it to you every single week here on the Singularity Lab, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be coming to you live. Unfortunately, not next week. I'm actually going to be out of town. So we're going to take 1 week off, and then we'll be back the following week. And if you're listening to us on audio right now, if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple Podcasts, come say hi. We're here live on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can ask your questions. You can share your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us today. Aaron Desario, thank you for your engagement. Swig McLeod, Nightgazer, Arlene, amazing to have you. Simon, Rock, so wonderful that you guys joined us live. We appreciate it, and we appreciate hanging out with you and answering your questions. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from tonight. We've also got Avi Loeb coming up on the 30th, May the 30th of this month. We're going to be talking to him about AI. We're going to be talking to him about the Galileo project. So a lot to share with you guys. Make sure you click the like button below, subscribe, ring that bell so that you can be notified anytime we go live. We really appreciate you all being here with us. Brooks, any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our extraordinary audience?
Tell your friends, tell your family, tell people who totally disagree with what we have to say. We'd love to hear their viewpoints, and we'd love to find a way to maybe swing them to our slight positive side on what the future might look like.
Love it, Brooks. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone, and we will catch you on the flip side.